Good morning, students. So today I am going to explain about logistic growth. Exponential growth already I have explained, and today we will discuss about logistic growth. So logistic growth, so that is the real growth which is taking place in nature, and no population in nature has unlimited resource. Okay. So in the exponential growth, the explanation was that there is unlimited resource in nature and the organism will keep on increasing. So there is no decreasing of population size, only there is increasing of the population size because nature has unlimited growth. But as per this model, there is no unlimited resource. There is always in the nature, you can see there is always limited resource, and there is also competition for the resource. So you cannot see that continuously the population size will keep on increasing, because always there is a control, there is a check from nature, so that the size can be controlled. And this kind of the growth model, that is called logistic growth. Okay. So in the process of competition, as explained by Darwin, the organism who is fittest will survive and the organism who is weakest will perish. Okay. So the survival, they will survive, fit organism will survive, and the nature has resources to support a maximum number called carrying capacity. So I have told you, there is limited resource, and nature also can support a particular size of population. Beyond that, the nature also cannot support. Okay. So that particular size which the nature can support, that is called carrying capacity K. And if you plot, if you study the population graph or the population of any particular locality or the habitat, and you plot a graph, then you can get a sigmoid curve. The curve, so it looks like S. Why? Because there are three phases are there. Initially, there is slow growth of the population, so that is called lag phase. So the initial phase is the lag. Then, as the organism they start reproducing and the number keep on increasing, then you can find out there is the accelerated growth. So that is the phase of acceleration. So in the middle portion you can see the size of the population will keep on increasing. Then again, when there is competition is there, some of the organisms they get killed and the resources they are also limited. Who are the fittest, they will get the resource. Then you can see there is the decline. There is deceleration of the curve. So there are three stages. If you are plotting the graph, then we can find out there are three phases are there. The initial phase is called the lag phase, which is a slow growth. Then you can find out there is the increased growth, so that is called phase of acceleration. Then again there is a decreased growth, so that is called phase of deceleration. So this kind of the curve, that is called sigmoid curve. And if you plot, if you put the formula, then the formula will be dn by dt is equal to Rn. R is the intrinsic value, N is the population size, K is the carrying capacity minus N divided by K. So you have to remember this formula also and the explanation of that. So competition also one kind of population interaction where two species they compete for the same resource. Okay, but it is not always true in nature. It is not compulsory that the related species they are competing for the same resource. Even in the nature you can see unrelated species they also compete for the same resource. And in the process of competition, what happens? Both are harmed in this process, and ultimately now the superior or the fittest species will survive, and the weakest one they will be removed from that area because they are competing for the same resource. So this is the theoretical explanation. But in the nature it is seen that even if the resource, so that is the same resource for both the species, then also you can see how they are able to survive in the nature or in the ecosystem, because the timing for taking the food, so that is different. So they make the timing for taking the food different so that both the species they can survive in the nature. So the theoretical explanation, so that is actually different from the practical what is happening in nature. So there are so many examples which are given in this chapter, and you have to remember each and every example because you may get question in board exams, and the question will be indirect question. For example, the example is given and you have to find out what kind of the interaction is there. If it is mutualism, then you have to explain mutualism. So all the examples which are given in this chapter, in this population interaction, you have to be very careful and you have to remember what kind of the interaction is that. So first example, that in South American lake, visiting flamingos and resident fishes, they compete for zooplankton. Flamingos who are visiting to that particular lake from some other area is competing with the fish which is there in the river. And what is the resource? What is the food? The food is common for both the species. The food is the zooplankton. So naturally, flamingos who are strongest, who are fittest, and they will survive, and the fishes will be eliminated. So this is a theoretical explanation. Now the another example, that abundant turtles in Galapagos Island became extinct due to greater browsing efficiency of the goat. So in the Galapagos Island, tortoise, that was a native species, and the native species became extinct when the goat was introduced in that area. And goat, you know that is a herbivorous animal. So in the process of the browsing, the tortoise, they were also gradually eliminated and they became extinct. So what is competitive release? Competitive release means a species whose distribution is restricted to a small geographical area is found to expand when the competing species is removed. Like for example, suppose you take one particular species in a habitat and the number or the presence that is restricted to a very limited area of that habitat. When the competitor is removed from that area, then it is seen that this particular species will expand in other geographical area also. So actually theoretically we are telling that in the process of competition one is eliminated and one is surviving. But that is not happening. Both are surviving. The numbers may be less, but both are surviving. How? Because they are finding out the different way how both they can survive. Another example of competition, that in the rocky sea coast of Scotland, the species is superior barnacle, name is Balanus, dominates the intertidal area. So this particular species, it is superior and it is dominating that coastal area, and gradually over the time period the smaller barnacle, the name of the species, that is the Cathamalus, so that was eliminated from that zoo. So this is also another example of competition. Now what is Gauss competitive exclusion principle? Gauss competitive exclusion principle explains that two closely related species competing for the same resource cannot coexist indefinitely, and the inferior one are eliminated eventually. If there are two closely related species and they are competing for the same resource, then over the time period one is eliminated and one is surviving. So this is the explanation of the Gauss regarding competition. But actually this is not true. As I told you, these are all the theoretical explanation, and these laws, these are actually in reality it is not applicable in nature. For example, if there are 5 closely related species of warbler are remaining in that same geographical area, then how these 5 different species or how these 5 different types of the warbler, they are able to survive in that place, because they are changing the foraging timing. There are different timing for the different species, and because the timing is different, so all these 5 different type of the warblers, so they are able to exist in that particular area. So the competition is not explaining truly that one is totally eliminated and the one is surviving. Both also can coexist by this foraging partitioning time. Parasitism is another kind of the population interaction in which one organism is parasite over the another organism. So the another organism is called the host, and the parasite is getting the benefit because the parasite is depending on the host for getting the food, and host is harm. So in the process of the interaction, one is benefited and one is harm. For example, the liver fluke. Liver fluke is having 2 hosts. One is snail, another is fish. For completing the life cycle, there is requirement of the 2 hosts. So half of the life cycle is completed inside the body of the snail, and the other half, so that is completed inside the body of the fish. Like for example, suppose you take malaria parasite, Plasmodium. Plasmodium is also having two hosts. One is female Anopheles mosquito, another is the human being. For the completion of the life cycle, there is requirement of the two hosts. So actually, the life cycle of the parasite, mostly we can see that the life cycle is very complicated because they are depending on the host for getting the food. And what is the meaning of the co-evolve? If out of these two who are related to each other in the process of parasitism, in the body of one organism the evolution is taking place or some changes are taking place, then at the same time in the other organism also the change has to take place. Otherwise both they cannot survive together. So co-evolution, evolution together. If there is evolution in one species, then there should be the evolution in the other species for the interaction to continue. Okay. So parasites are of two types, ectoparasite and endoparasites. Ectoparasites, they are remaining outside the body of the host, and the endoparasite, they are remaining inside the body of the host. Like for example, suppose you take Cuscuta. Cuscuta, that is a plant, that is a parasitic plant. Generally in plant kingdom, parasites are very less. So the Cuscuta, that is a yellow color plant, generally we can see on hedge. Hedge are all the plants which are grown for fencing purpose. And on hedge you can see there are thread-like structure which are yellow in the color, and they grow very fast because they are taking the food from the host plant, the green plant, and they are developing. So this is an example of ectoparasites. For example, suppose you take lice. Lice is also ectoparasite. Lice is remaining there inside in the hair and getting the food from the human body. Then the endoparasite, for example, liver flu, so that is an endoparasite. For example, the roundworm, so that is an endoparasite. So the endoparasite life cycle is much more complicated. Why? Because when they are remaining inside the body, then inside the body the atmosphere may be hostile, may not be hostile. For example, suppose the parasite is remaining in the intestine of the human also. Then the parasite has to survive in the different pH and the different medium, internal medium, then only the parasite will be able to reproduce or multiply. So generally it is seen that the endoparasite life cycle is much more complicated, or the organism they are complicated in comparison to the ectoparasites. Okay. Then what is brood parasitism? Brood parasitism means the parasite bird can lay eggs in the host nest. For example, suppose you take the quail and the crow. This is an important question. Many times you get question in board exam. Quail is laying the eggs in the nest of crow. Why? Because both quail and the crow eggs, they look similar. So the crow is not able to identify that the egg is not its own egg and it is the egg of the quail. So when there is a hatching and baby quail is developing, then only the crow, the mother crow is able to recognize that this is quail, this is not crow. So this kind of the interaction, that is called brood parasite.